In this lesson, we will learn how to scale objects in SketchUp. With the Scale tool, you can change the size of an object, a line, or a surface with respect to 1, 2, or even all 3 axes. The size changes according to the scale factor we specify. For example, if you want the distance of a line to be twice the original, you have to set the scale factor to 2, and similarly, if you want the distance of a line to be half the original, you have to set the scale factor to 0.5. In the open file, a bookcase has been created, which I will use to give you a clearer idea of how the Scale tool works. Before you activate the tool to resize your objects, you must first select them and then activate the Scale tool. I want to change the length of the bookcase from 1 to 1.50 meters and the height from 2 to 2.5 meters. To select the entire bookcase, I will click 3 times on a surface of the bookcase while the Select tool is active. Now to activate the Scale tool, I can expand the Tools menu and select the Scale option. Otherwise, I can simply click on the Scale icon from the toolbar on the left. Once I activate the tool, I notice that some green vertices appear around the object I selected. Those vertices are the grips that I will use to resize the object. As I mentioned previously, I will change the length of the bookcase from 1 to 1.5 meters and its height from 2 to 2.5 meters. So, I will click and drag the middle right grip at the top of the bookcase to the right and notice how the values of the red, blue scale field in the status bar change. In this field, I have to type the scale factor for each axis. Since I am scaling the objects in the XZ plane, the first scale factor is about the length and the second about the height of the object. At this point, I will type the number 1.5 to set the scale factor in the X direction, a semicolon, and then 1.25 to set the scale factor in the Z direction. Once I press enter, the object is resized based on the calculations that were made according to the original dimensions and the scale factors I defined. More specifically, to calculate the new length, the mathematical operation 1 times 1.5 takes place, which equals 1.5. Similarly, to calculate the new height, 2 is multiplied by 1.25, which equals 2.5. Note that while scaling objects, the opposite grip serves as a fixed point, as indicated by the auxiliary line. If you want to enlarge or shrink the object using its geometric center as a base point, hold down the Control key, click on a grip, and drag the cursor. Notice how differently the object's size changes. Now, if you wish to change all dimensions proportionally, which means that the same scale factor will be used in all 3 axes, then hold down the Shift key. With Shift held down, I will change the height of the bookcase to 1.5 meters and the length to 0.9 meters. Notice that in the status bar there is the Scale field that includes a single value, which proves that the scale factor that is used is 1 and the same for all axes. Let's move on now to a different example of how to adjust according to another object without specifying certain scale factors. I will activate the Rectangle tool from the toolbox on the left and create a rectangle with random dimensions. Then, I will activate the Push-Pull tool and extrude the surface to 2.2 meters. With the Offset tool, I will copy the perimeter of the front surface inward at 0.1 meters. At this point, I will activate the Line tool, and I will draw a line that will start at the lower left corner of the inner rectangular surface and will be perpendicular to the bottom side of the outer rectangular surface. I will create a similar line on the other side, and then I will delete the horizontal line I no longer need. Now, with the Push-Pull tool active, I will push the surface inward to subtract some volume. When I am done creating the new object, I will select it and group it by right-clicking on it and selecting the Make Group option. This time, I will adjust the bookcase so it fits perfectly inside this object. First, I have to move the bookcase to the right place. So, I will activate the Move tool, click on the front left corner of the bookcase, and move it to the upper left front corner of the opening. Then, while the bookcase is still selected, I will activate the Scale tool and click on the right lower middle grip of the bookcase and drag it to the lower left endpoint of the opening. Finally, I will click on the right lower grip of the bookcase and drag it to the lower right corner of the opening. Notice that the size of the library has been adjusted to the dimensions of the object's opening.